Hi! Welcome to another episode of TFT Hyper Roll from Mission4Tution, where I show you some builds I'm using in the hopes that you can maybe use them or see what I'm doing and it helps you on this crazy road to hyper. We call the channel Mission4Tuition because we're helping to pay for our son's middle and high school tuition. We do not take donations, we don't have a link, but if you could put a like on the video, it helps it get out to more people, and that way it makes more revenue from ad revenue and helps pay for tuition. Thank you so much, and let's jump into the video. As with oh so many of these HyperRoll games, this game did not want to commit early. It gave me a brand, which is not enough to make me want to go Abomination, a Sirocco, which is not enough to make me want to go into Dawnbringer, so I decided to at least keep a couple of Sentinels on the screen, and once I picked up the 2-star Olaf, I went, okay, at least I'm going to keep this, but I'm going to keep my options open right now and see what I can do with Sentinels. And while Sentinels are super hot right now in ranked games, I don't see them that much in HyperRoll, and there's a reason for it that I'll explain later. But of course, in this first fight, I run smack dab into someone who started off with a 3-cost Lee Sin, and I get chopped to pieces, because that's what should happen with someone who has an early buff. And with this team still not really committing to anything, it's not going to get better anytime soon. It's just a little bit of a mess as we run into teams with set buffs like this Brawler team with a Nunu with a Giant's Belt that can easily just chomp my characters. So at this point, this build is a little bit of a mess. I promise you it will come together. I picked up the Misfortune to trigger the Forgotten buff and the Cannoneer buff in the hopes of trying to salvage something out of this, but I'm just not getting anything consistent out of my rolling. I'm not getting items that are easy to slam onto people, so I'm just trying to do my best. Although luckily these matches are early, and so we're only losing 2 health. It's not going to be catastrophic if we lose here. So the game is giving me a ton of Sennas, and I'm already only 2 away from gold. Seeing the Irelia and knowing I am not going into Forgotten this round, I decide to get her, put her in, and trigger that Sentinel buff and see what that's going to do for me. And the answer is not much right now. I don't have good items to put on people, and even though I have the Sentinel buff, it's not going to be enough to take me through a Legionnaire team that has a really good item on Callista. She is going to win. Being 1 Senna away from gold, I decide to just lean into Sentinels. I pick up Rakan, and my Radiant items just are not friendly to who I ultimately want to be the carry, which would be Lucian. So I pick up a good item for Rakan in the Radiant Warmonks. But as of this moment, I have a lot of pieces of items, but not solid items to put together, so this team is really weak and going to go down early. I need it to come together really soon. I'm hoping one of my friends at Riot is standing behind the panel and this Golden Globe of Happiness is going to help me out. Unfortunately, it's not everything I really want it to be. My goal here is to create Lucian items, but they do give me an additional Sentinel to put out, and I've now 2-starred my Rakan, so I can start building him up a little bit to make him even stronger. But I desperately need a BF sword to make this work, and yeah, there it is. Okay, now I have a couple of Lucian items, and I can use Misfortune as my item holder for that. In a perfect world, your Lucian items are Deathblade, Hand of Justice, and Last Whisperer, but I decide to go ahead and put the Rageblade onto Misfortune because I'm down at 10 health and I really don't want to lose too much anymore, so I want to maximize items as best as I can so I can win. But it turns out to be Rakan that keeps me in this with that extra healing and the Sunfire Cape. With the opportunity to get the sparring gloves, I grab them because along with that recursive bow, I can make the Last Whisper. I am also not rolling at this point because I want as much gold as possible going into round 7 where I have a 15% chance of rolling a 4. I ultimately know I absolutely 100% need a Lucian if I want any chance of winning this match at all. At this point though, this is the Rakan show, he's keeping me alive. So I want to take this little bit of time to explain why I'm not a huge fan of using Sentinel in HyperRoll. It's very, very dependent on multiple high-cost champions. You really need to get a silver Galio and ultimately a silver Lucian if you want this to work. And yes, I now have a gold Senna ready to go, and I have 6 Sentinels, but it is absolutely dependent on the silver Lucian with the right items for it to be strong, and that silver Galio up front to keep things away from Lucian, and Rakan, of course, to keep them healed. It may survive for now, but without Lucian, I'm probably going out very quickly. Although at the moment, it's really good that I have Rakan as stacked as he is, because he is keeping this team alive and allowing them to be able to finish things off. You can see the healing here is absolutely key, enabling them to survive through Kha'Zix and get to the next round. We silver up the Misfortune and roll, find the Lucian, and I don't care if it's a silver Misfortune or not. I would rather have Lucian in because he is going to be the absolute key to this build. Now, the new way Sentinel works is that it's the champion with the most items who is the first to receive the buff. Ties are broken by attack speed, and Lucian will have more attack speed built in than Rakan, so Lucian should get the shield and the additional attack speed first, which is perfect because that will get him closer to his ult, where he is going to start picking up attack damage from the Deathblade and cleaning up the other team. We head into the NPC round, we find ourselves another Lucian, and Action, who is going to replace that Pyke. Not shockingly, I beat the NPC, took the Ionic Spark, put it on Galio, grabbed a Gwen, and since her passive allows people around her to take less damage, I stuck her right in the middle of my tanks so that they can stay up longer. But you can immediately see the impact that Lucian is having, as he is just able to instantly fire and pick up damage and tear through the front line. I'd love to say I planned this next fight out, but I just got lucky in who I was going against. Notice their Viego jumps towards my Action, but is immediately pulled away by Galio's taunt, allowing Action to then do his attacks from the outside and really do a lot of extra damage. But this kind of becomes kind of funny because in the end, the Radiant item I didn't really want ends up paying off the dividends, as it helps keep Rakan alive, as both Rakan and Senna pass the Sentinel buff back and forth, allowing them to win this match. And with that, we are into the top 4 and a 2-star Lucian. So we are feeling much better about this. Put a Fiddlesticks in so that I can trigger the Mystic buff, and now my team is pretty much set exactly the way I want it. The Gargoyle Stoneplate is going to go straight onto Galio because you want him to just be as absolutely tanky as possible. I move Gwen around just because I want to find the place where her passive is going to do the most good in reducing damage, which is also why I move Action up a little bit. I'm absolutely willing to buy Teemos at this point because, again, the difference between 9, 8, 7 health doesn't matter. It's all greater than 6. And so my goal is to try to find a 2-star Garen or a 2-star Gwen so that I can absolutely complete this. The absolute key to this fight is going to be Lucian, because every time he crits, which is going to happen often when he does his culling, is going to reduce their armor. Watch how he reaches all the way across the screen and takes out their Kale, which was the thing that could probably have messed up my team the most if he was able to fully ascend, but we're able to take them down and knock them out. So we get set to roll for everything we can, find a Garen, so we have a 2-star Garen, and it's time to check out what's going on. The biggest problem I see on this team is their Viego, who has the opportunity to take my Lucian, and if he takes my Lucian, I'm going to be in trouble. This is why I move Lucian over to the Galio side of the board. That way, if Viego comes in, when Galio does his ult, he will taunt Viego away, or at least that's my hope. They're obviously moved their Viego over to my Lucian side, planning on absolutely taking it, and I'm thinking, okay, I got it, but my Galio ult does not reach as far as I need it to, and Viego is able to get right in on my Lucian and take him. And that is going to be a lot of trouble because Lucian is the key to me doing damage, and with their Jax able to get in on me, there's not much else I can do, but that's why I don't buy Teemos below 6 health. I at least have one more turn. So this is all going to come down to positioning. With their Viego being able to take something like that, I need to just clump up so that Viego is not able to get an easy reach into my backline and take my most important character. I move Lucian next to Rakan in the hopes that if Viego does get back there, Rakan's heals are going to be able to keep Lucian up throughout Viego's ult, so when he comes down, he can continue to do damage. He's also in Gwen's passive, so that allows him to take a little less damage throughout the game. I've been asked a couple of times to do videos on positioning, and it's really hard to do a whole video that would be just about positioning because it's so situational. In this case, I had to block their Viego to make sure he didn't get to Lucian and to protect Lucian just in case. Overall, it led to victory. I hope this helped. You enjoyed the video and have an absolutely awesome day.